Hello, my fellow Americans. I stand before you, proud to make an official proclamation in that Russell Wilson is, in fact, the 14th best QB in the league, and playoff Lamar Jackson is Sam Darnold of the Jets. Thank you, God bless, and please let Mike the Mouth know he owes me $5,000 still.
Don't fade me, bro. This is the WeWin Sports Podcast.
Hello, folks. Welcome to the WeWin Sports Podcast, NFL Playoff Editions. Today, 30-second rants. Looking forward to this. We'll discuss last weekend's game. 4 games. Cantu was 4-0, and we'll give this week's pick of the weeks. David Woodley's basically a professional sports bettor. Woodley has great knowledge and sharp takes. My guy Brandon Cantu has some well-thought-out takes, but he is bummed out still about Russell Wilson, still about the Seahawks. Mike the Mouth knows sports and studies the NFL for way too many hours every week. All right, I'm coming at you hot. My rant is this. When someone in our text stream says something that's obviously wrong, okay, and then we call them out on it, and the person just won't back down. This happens to you guys at home when you have an argument with a loved one. And I'm just like, really? And so, we've had some really interesting things here. Woodley, to give him credit, backed down, finally said that he would take Jordan Love over Darnold after putting Mike and I and Cantu through hell. He finally backed down. Okay. First off, Cantu was 4-0 last week on his picks, including Cantu. You gave us what?
I gave everybody at home a plus 380 Washington pick. And to go back on what I said, it was one of those weird feelings. I just thought the Lions' luck had run out. I thought it was either they weren't going to hit the 4th downs, Jared Goff was going to start making some mistakes. It was something somewhere right in there. It just had that feeling from God. Let me know. Washington plus 380. I'm excited. This was one of my biggest weeks of the season. 4-0, and there was some kind of nice ones that we had as a group, like the Chiefs. We had a lot of cute little middles. I know Woodley, Phil, and Mike, we were talking about this, where it didn't matter which side we had. We were all winning, which was kind of nice. I might have happened to some of you at home.
That happened 2 Saturday games, Cantu, to further your point.
That was crazy. In our group chat, we were all winning, both sides. That happened on the Chiefs, Texans, and on the what was the other one?
Rams and Phillies.
Yeah, Rams, Eagles land 6. Some people had 6.5, some 5.5, some 6 ties. It was kind of a fun, Saturday is a fun just day to win. If you like winning, Saturday was that had to hurt the books a lot. Yeah, the books had to really get hurt. But I'm really glad. That makes me happy getting you guys that plus 380 winner, because that was my 3rd one I've given this year, like a real long shot, and they're hard to pick,
Okay, guys, we have a couple of things to clean up here. First of all, I'm going to show you. I'm at the Aria here. So as Daniel Negreanu likes to say about me, oh, look, the PH logo. As Daniel likes to say, promote, sell. This is my suite at the Aria. Okay, I'm taking you guys around the 360 view here. Now, some of us wanted to go to the Super Bowl last year. Oh, you guys, can you see the stadium?
Oh, look at that view right there.
Yeah, isn't that nice? So I'm at the Aria.
That's the Golden Knights Stadium there too in the background, wasn't it?
Good catch, Cantu. That's right. Now, Woodley, we have an official order of business right at the top of the show. We have a new sponsor, Woodley. Well, I shut my curtain behind me. Tell us about our new sponsor.
Guys, have you ever had your debit card declined at the worst moment at a sportsbook or online? Or maybe your PayPal account gets frozen. None of us have had that happen to us, of course. Or suddenly you're out of options to rebuy at a casino. Well, today's sponsor has your back. Edge Boost is the first ever dedicated bank account for gamblers. 100% approval for sports betting, daily fantasy sports, poker sites, casino, and sweeps. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you can move up to $250K a day in and out of sports books, in and out of casinos, everything else, and you earn cash back on every deposit and withdrawal, up to 0.5%. If you're placing $5K worth of NFL bets a week, you can be getting anywhere between $500 and $200 cash back, which comes out to $2K to $4K throughout the whole season. You can use that on your future bets if you're Phil. You can use that on a Russell Wilson MVP bet that will go to 0, or pay your Jerry's Tavern Cantu, or you can adopt a new cat like Mike. Edgeboost.bet. That's once again at edgeboost.bet. And if you have any questions, let us know.
Yeah, you know why I personally love this is I like to make a lot of transactions. Sometimes you start off not doing as well as you thought you might. You're making multiple transactions in a day, and I have a credit union that loves to just cut me off like after the first one. Sometimes doesn't allow it when I'm making my deposit. For someone like me, this is a dream.
What I'm really excited about too is like this is one of those companies that I think like is applicable to anyone that bets. Right. Like we're not on here saying, okay, go bet at this sports book or go play poker here or go do this. Like this is something for like all bettors. And it benefits all of them as well.
All right. Well,
Okay. All right. Welcome to the podcast. Our first sponsor. Okay. Listen. So, Mike, you have some. I think we should first talk about some of these games. Cantu had a great weekend.
I really have a great rant for this week. Okay.
Fire.
So, of the 4 teams that won last week, I truly believe the only team that was the best team that won was Washington. I thought Houston was completely dominant except for special teams. They had the referees that called 2 retarded rough in the passer penalties that led directly to 10 Kansas City points. But Houston special teams gave off the kickoff return to start the game for 3. Then they had a 34-yard punt that gave them 3 more. Then they missed 2 field goals. That's 12. And a missed extra point is 13. So even though I thought their defense dominated, I thought their offense, the running the ball, dominated. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Stroud got sacked 9 times. Well, when they got down by double digits, he had to throw the ball, and they couldn't run the ball with Mixon. So, of course, they teed off on him. So the refs making those ridiculous calls and the special teams mistakes led to them having to throw the ball, and that's why he got sacked so many times.
Now, Mike, let's move on. I'm going to continue on your rant. We're going to do this rant together. So I felt like this. I felt like Baltimore and healthy Detroit were 2 of the top 3 teams in the league. And Baltimore is somehow out. Mike, you agree, yeah?
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is like you could look at 3 of the games, right? People say, well, look at the 3 games. All 3 the teams that lost outgained the other teams. Well, they also didn't say that the teams that lost had 10 turnovers to 0 turnovers. But in the Houston game, they became the first team out of 49 times to outgain their opponent by 100 yards, have 0 turnovers, and lose a playoff game. The previous 49 were 49-0. So that's a little bit different.
Mike, you and I have talked about this a lot in the past. Okay, so, and I know, and if you remember the conversation, you'll have a snap answer for me here on this. So the question is, how often does the best team in the NBA win the championship?
90%.
Now, you and I have talked, we've said like 70, 80%. And the only reason 70, 80% is because of injuries, right?
No. Yeah. If they're healthy, the best team wins 90% of the time in the NBA.
You and I agree exactly on that. Now, Woodley probably agrees with that, but you and I have discussed this for endless hours. Now, when it comes to the NFL, how often does the best team win the Super Bowl? And you and I had talked about maybe 30% of the time.
It used to be like 80%, but then once like the salary cap started to spread out, and all these teams got every game. If you really watch every game, it all comes down to 1 or 2 plays, which is why Kansas City, even though they're the luckiest team in NFL history, they win because they have the best coaching and they don't make those mistakes at the end of the game. They don't make the mistakes at the end of the game. But boy, they're one lucky team, boy.
Okay, guys, here we go. Now listen, Mike the Mouth. All right, and guys, listen, we got to get some picks out. So I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to lead right off.
But let's go. I want to go over the one other game that we talked about, the Rams and the Eagles. Like me and you talked about it. We feel the Rams were the better team. They had 2 major turnovers that gave them 10 points, and they outgained them. And so, like I said, the turnovers are different. except for the Houston Kansas City game, turnovers decided the games last week. And, that's right.
I don't quite agree with you on that, on the Rams game. I mean, yeah, technically, I really think what got them was the snow. When I thought the Rams were going to beat them, and then like the first quarter, I loved the Rams. Then the snow started coming down, and I'm like, oh no, they're from LA. Some of these guys have never even seen snow. This is just a nightmare. Someone like Puka from I think he's from Hawaii.
I mean,
the guy couldn't catch the ball like in the middle of like the wet. I've never seen him drop a pass, and it really affected them.
Sirianni was coached so poorly where he dropped back an injured Hurts that gave up a safety. And then even at the end of the game with 2.5 minutes to go, he drops them back and gets sacked. And the truth of the matter is, if the Rams don't blow the assignment on 3rd and 2, the Rams are going to win that game. They had a wide guy wide open right in the middle. So
yeah, it's I don't know if it's a scenario where they deserve to win or were the better team. I think Philly was by far the better team. I think what honestly kept the Rams in it was that Philly head coach is just terrible. I mean, Philly should have won that game by multiple. They couldn't stop. Dude, Saquon Barkley was breaking records. Go ahead. It's like the fucking Lions too, man. They're out there gashing them for 7, 8, 9 yards a carry with Gibbs, and then I get you want to bring Montgomery back and get him back in, but this isn't the time to do this. This is one and done. I mean, Gibbs he had 170 yards on 20 touches. I'm sorry, he has to have 30 touches at that point. And Montgomery, fine.
And then Goff got injured, and then they were throwing him like oh, he was perfect, and then they started to key a little bit on Gibbs afterwards, but that's because he was out of the game. He was out of rhythm. They should have never let Montgomery in. I agree 100%.
Well, Goff is a great point. Goff is a great point because this brings us into the other big debate we had as well. And I'm going to start with Goff, right? And I said this on last week's podcast as well. It's if you're a fan of a lot of these teams with high priced quarterbacks, you have to be worried about the future. If you're a Packers fan, I'm sorry, Love hasn't proven it. Herbert hasn't proven it in the playoffs. And in the NFL, the playoffs are everything. If you're a high priced quarterback, the playoffs are everything, right? Goff, all we hear all year long is how perfect he is, right? How great he is. This, that, and the other. He came out and laid a fucking egg this game. And you know what? He actually laid an egg in that Vikings game as well, but nobody talks about that because Darnold had the worst game of all time. So now, all of a sudden, you're like, wow, maybe Goff isn't this guy that can take you to the Super Bowl, right? And that's not controversial. The hot debate topic
that's controversial.
Here.
That's controversial.
Yeah. Maybe it isn't, but the Rams gave up everything for Stafford. The Rams won a Super Bowl.
And look how good Stafford played too. Yesterday.
Goff, the Lions.
I don't know, Woodley.
Cantu
and I aren't debating whether who's a better quarterback. We're debating your statement, your words that you just used. That's what we're debating.
About
I
Goff,
like Goff. I mean, Goff had a bad game. He picked the time to have his second worst game of the year.
And the defensive injuries caught up. Let's be honest. That's why the line moved from 9.5 to 7.5 for the game because of all the defensive injuries.
I don't know.
They lost that game because they had 5 turnovers.
Yeah,
they had a million turnovers.
That's true. But the defense
3 interceptions. Goff can't do that. Goff was the biggest loser on the quarterback side of the weekend, and when the Lions are all offense, we know they struggle on defense. You can't ever have that.
They had to be perfect on offense.
They had to
win.
be perfect.
The Jameson Williams throw was ridiculous too. That guy, what was he doing?
Well, that's that
Campbell. I mean, what the fuck? What kind of a play call is that?
I don't mind the play call, but then you have to have the discipline to not throw it, which we've seen a bunch lately. In the NFL in 2025, 2024, I saw a bunch of those plays called. And the wide receiver, the running back, whoever was out there to throw that pass, actually held the ball. And I was like, wow, that was really smart. But for some reason, this guy decided to throw it, and it was a really bad decision on his part, and an even worse throw.
Phil, I'll let you tee up the other quarterback that we're going to talk about because I know you want to get the first word on that.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, Woodley, I mean, it doesn't even, you sometimes, I talked about this in my rant, about how some of the guys, some of the people just say stuff that's wrong and then won't back down. Usually it's Mike. But you had to say this. I wrote it down. Lamar is the New York Jets' Sam Darnold in the playoffs. And Cantu and I are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Now, you look at the game. Okay, did Lamar have 2 turnovers? Yes, he did. Did he have
Awful
twice
turnovers.
as many yards throwing as Allen and twice as many yards rushing? And did he bring them all the way down in the clutch moment to tie the game and have a wide receiver, actually his tight end, just drop a wide open pass? Yes, he did. So for you to compare him to people on the podcast are watching this and they're like, what did he say?
Well, if you watch
Let me go.
ESPN and you hear what Lamar said, he said, "We lost the game because of me,
Mike,
Because of
Mike,
me.
that's true.
I threw
I
the
agree.
worst pick ever."
That's not what I'm
he said,
arguing, Mike.
I never threw a ball that bad in my life. He said, and then he dropped the ball, which led to 7 points, and they lost by
Okay, Mike.
2.
Okay, Mike.
That was so bad. So
That's not what
I'll
I'm
start-
talking about. I like. It's
ahead,
very
Woodley.
important when you have a debate to stick to the words. Otherwise, we just waste a lot of time. He
So I was
compared
wrong.
Lamar Jackson to Sam Darnold at the Jets, and Cantu and I went crazy. Do you still feel that, Woodley?
No, obviously.
Please
he's
don't
not
say
sick.
yes.
Obviously,
People are going to
obviously
turn
he's not-
off the podcast
No,
if you
listen,
say something that
obviously,
dumb.
obviously, it's like alliteration or whatever. He's not Sam Darnold of the Jets because like nobody's that
But that's
bad,
what your
he-
word said, so you
he's-
admit you're wrong.
I know, but he's not. Of course, yeah, of course I'm wrong on that. But he's not.
Okay.
He is not a good. He is not a good playoff quarterback. I mean, listen, he's been in 8
Not yet.
games now.
Yeah.
He's been in 8 games. Well,
Pretty big sample,
games.
yeah.
He's been around for a while. 8 games. He's 3-5. All right. He has 10 passing TDs. He has 3 rushing TDs. Which sounds fine. He has 7 interceptions and 7 fumbles. That is
Wow.
13 touchdowns to 14 turnovers.
So Woodley, you like to make
has-
you like to put up these naked stats, right? That's okay. So did you
The
look at
record
what
is
he did
3
in
and 5.
2024? Because like I mean, people
I'll
are
tell you about
oftentimes bad
2024.
their first few years. Did you look at what he did in 2024 and 2025, Woodley, or is this just
Yeah,
like
Well,
okay.
2020. Yeah, I mean, listen, in
he
2020,
took him to the
was good. He had-
championship game in
he had-
2024? They lost to Kansas City.
When Flowers
Right.
dropped the ball at the 1, fumbled the ball at the 1.
Correct.
Yes,
but
it-
I guess
it
that's on
wasn't-
Lamar to win
no.
a champion to
well-
go to the Super Bowl.
Flowers, they don't win that game with it, okay? He did fine that game. He didn't come out and win it. He didn't win it like an MVP. And this year, yes, he had a good week 1, all right?
But your
versus,
argument is,
versus
let me
Steelers.
bring up your other quote. Well, go ahead and talk while I go, but your other quote. This is a beauty
Well,
too.
my quote here is he's not a winning quarterback in the NFL. And like this last game, yeah, you're throwing up some. I admit I threw up a bunch of stats there, and here's a couple more. He doesn't have a game-winning drive in the playoffs. He doesn't have a fourth quarter comeback in the playoffs. Like how many does Mahomes have? Like 1 million of each. This last game, he gave that game away in the first half. All right, that
agree.
interception was one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see. That fumble. All right, this isn't like a fumble where he's back there and the line falls apart and he gets
dropped the
blindsided.
ball.
That fumble, he dropped it. It was a mental mistake. At that point in time, okay, they were a 68% chance to win that game. When he dropped that ball and they got that ball, it went from 68 down to 35%. That is the game right there. You will not find a bigger
That is the
Woodley,
swing
was
in the
the
NFL.
snap? I don't remember. Was the snap right in his hands and he just dropped it?
Oh, he was fine. He was running around and he
No,
dropped it. It
no,
was bad.
that's
It's like
not
bad.
He said what happened was he got the snap and he fumbled it a little bit. This is his words, and so but he couldn't throw it downfield to Likely because the linemen were already downfield. So he tried to make something happen, and which time the ball fell out of his hand was his
He
exact.
started
words.
running it. Yeah, he just started running it. It fell
Let
out.
me make,
It's-
let me make
that's-
some sense. Let me make some sense of all this for you guys. Not every game is in a dome. We're not playing it, where Peyton Manning got this nice RCA dome every year. This is sub 10 degree weather with wind chill, snowing. It's wet. Freezing cold. There's going to be a mistake. To have a perfect game is in that kind of weather is.
Did Allen make a mistake? Did Allen make any mistakes? Exactly.
Well, he only threw for 127 yards. So
Well, that's because
and he
they had a
only ran
big
for 20
they-
yards. I mean,
excuse me. They
he
had an
didn't make any
11-point.
plays.
They had an 11-point lead at half. Okay, and they were gashing them, so they stayed with the run. They didn't. They kind of
He
like
had 10
they
carries,
milked.
20 yards. Yeah,
It
he did have
doesn't
2
matter.
touchdowns.
It
16
doesn't-
of 22, 127. Yeah,
All they had to do is not. Do you know how good Allen was in the first half? Are you out of your mind? He was the fucking MVP, bro.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the point.
So Mike, he had
Well, here's the
120.
problem.
Mike, he had 127 yards, but you think he had an MVP level
I mean,
performance?
it's really ridiculous.
Dude, they
to be
played with the
honest.
lead, and they fucking played to not make mistakes.
Here we go. We got another guy saying something stupid that
Dude,
won't back
even
down.
Woodley,
No, it's
Woodley.
not. No, it's
It's the
not. though.
truth.
It's not
Guys,
stupid.
let me finish. Let me finish. Where it comes down to,
No,
you are-
he said
you are
Mike
playing-
said MVP.
it's ridiculous. I mean,
Level
Josh
performance.
Allen
Did
played-
you
he
see how
played
Brady
okay.
was in the first fucking quarter? When they
You know-
scored in the first two
This reminds
possessions.
me of when I said Russell Wilson had a great third quarter.
No,
Yeah,
shut
Mike's
up,
caught
shut
up.
up,
Let's say,
shut up,
like-
shut up, shut up
Oh
about
my
that.
God, please,
Alan, if you watch the game, what happens though is Mike's right. Allen had a great first half. He gets him out to this big lead. They dicked around in the second half. That wasn't Allen's fault. This comes back to this coaching thing too, where
Coach, yes.
it's just important. Like the
They said,
Chiefs
"Oh,
win the
we
Super
ran
Bowl-
it down their throats in the first half. We'll do the same." And once the Ravens adjusted, he stopped. He didn't let Allen throw the ball.
The
Guys,
Chiefs are
I
going to win the
hear- I
Super
hear
Bowl
you.
because they're the only team that has a coach that doesn't lose his fucking mind.
Okay,
even,
Woodley,
even the
let
Washington coach.
Cantu finish his points.
Let me
No,
finish my
Woodley.
points. Really, who lost the game is Mark Andrews. And I love Mark Andrews. He had a fumble. The 2-point conversion, they're down 27-25. And I mean, the throw.
Do you think they were still
Was-
going to win if they made that 2-point conversion? Buffalo was like 65% still to win.
What are you talking about? Of course, that was going to be a real close game. If all he has to do is catch that, we're about
Bad
to catch
throw.
an epic finish right there. If he
was a
catches
bad
the
throw.
ball, it was all.
There
but
might have been two
perfect.
more scores. There might have been two more scores. By the way, Buffalo might have driven down the
No.
field and then left like 20
No.
seconds on the clock, and
No.
Lamar could have done
No.
In
something.
that
No,
weather.
No,
in that
that's
weather,
way.
anything
impossible.
could happen.
No, Woodley and Mike said that's impossible. We've never
No,
seen that.
Never going to
before.
be two more scores.
Baltimore,
Never,
Baltimore
never.
Had, Baltimore had no time. The Bills would have.
Or
the
could
Bills
three
would have went
now.
down.
What about a 3-0?
Mike, it would never be like when the Chiefs played the Bills and they scored
would
4
drop on-
touchdowns
they
in
would-
the last
they
2
would, like-
minutes. That could never happen, Cantu.
They were,
No,
Phil,
never.
they were trailing at that point. That if it was tied, the Bills would have went down. They would have went down on the one. They would have kicked the field goal. They wouldn't have scored a touchdown. They would have went down on the one. And they would have kicked the field
Yeah,
goal. There was
exactly.
never going to be two more scores. I'll bet $1 million bajillion that would
Agree,
never
agree,
happen.
agree,
The only
agree.
way that happens is if Baltimore, if Harbaugh comes on the field and picks up Josh Allen and carries him to the end zone and puts him in the end zone.
I don't
with
think
5
you and
seconds
Mike
left.
know. I don't think you and Mike understand what never means. I mean, like, because to me, I'm like, are these guys really?
anything's
like, I
possible
don't think
in
you
the
understand what
NFL.
never means.
Or they just get stopped and the clock runs out.
Or a
There's so
pick
many
six, but no,
things.
that would
Pick-
never happen. I mean, I just
fumble
don't
in
want
the
either. It's
wet
fine.
weather. Like,
That wouldn't have been okay. That wouldn't have been too much worse. But the point being is that Andrews play wasn't a good throw either, and that's not coming from me. That's coming from Dan or Flosky, who sat on ESPN and showed. No, he showed it, and he said, yeah, like Andrews has to catch that 100% of the time, but he threw it behind him. And you know, and you were just making excuses for fucking Jackson and his fumbles. It's cold,
Orlovsky actually
it's
just made my
wet.
point. He's supposed to catch that 100% of the time. That's the point. Thank you. Now we can move
But
on.
it's still a bad throw. But
Wait, Woodley. For the record, okay, listen, I just
100%.
can't believe what I'm hearing.
It wasn't a bad
Woodley,
throw.
this is what you're saying right now to the whole world. You're saying that Lamar Jackson throw that the guy didn't catch. You're saying it was a bad throw to the whole
it's
world
not
right
bad.
now.
It could have been.
It
It
hit
could
him
have
in
been
the
better.
You
fucking
said
numbers.
bad.
It
You
hit him
said
in the
bad
numbers.
throw.
Yeah,
You
and
wanna
I
back
took it
off
back,
that.
Phil. I just said I took it back, Phil. Like,
Okay.
Okay.
okay. Phil cracks me up. He says Woodley never admits he's wrong. I'm like, Phil, I've admitted 19 things.
You
the past,
always
like,
admit
4
you're wrong
minutes.
on the podcast.
Yeah, but
Because you know the whole world's
anyway,
watching.
The point is, here's the point. The point is, all right, all these quarterbacks have lost. Like, you cannot trust them moving forward. If you want to trust Lamar Jackson taking the Super Bowl moving forward, be my guest. But like, I sat here on this podcast last week and I said the Bills should not be underdog at home for a million reasons, and one of those is because Jackson is yet to prove he can win in the playoffs. And here we are a week later.
And
We'll
home
come
field
back a year-
advantage. Home field advantage won him the game. I mean, that
We'll
crowd I
come-
heard was
yeah.
incredible.
We'll come back a year from now, and it'll be the same scenario. The Baltimore Ravens be a 3 or 4 seed. They're going to go into Kansas City, or they're going to go into Buffalo.
See,
and-
Woodley, I disagree with you. I watched this golfer who kept choking, and he just couldn't win a major. And his name was Phil Mickelson. He just kept choking, just couldn't get it done. And then he won one, and another one, and another one, and another one, and another one. And I think Lamar has gotten better each year. I think the 3 turnovers cost him the game. I think Buffalo was the better team. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, here's what you guys are missing in this game, and this is what I said when I said I like the Ravens, but last week. And anybody listened? Missing Zay Flowers could cost the Ravens the game. And if you tell me if they had Zay Flowers, they wouldn't have won that game because they had to utilize Andrews a lot more because they didn't have their all-world receiver. And I think if Zay Flowers was healthy, they win the game. That's my opinion.
I mean,
Okay,
they were
Mike,
down.
let's move on.
It's hard to say
Let's-
that. It's hard to say that though because they were down 11 at halftime. I mean, like it's very easy to be like, oh, Zay Flowers catches that.
Yeah,
but
they did get
Woodley,
they did
let
get
me ask you
gassed.
this,
I
Woodley.
agree.
One question: Who is the better team, Buffalo or the Ravens?
The Bills, they won.
I think the Bills. The Bills. They won when it counted. I think they have the better all.
But
I think they
we
have
just
the
had
better
this. We
overall
just had this
player.
debate that we all agreed that the best team only wins 30% of the time in the NFL. So you're saying, for the record,
I mean,
I
that's
didn't say
fair.
that.
I mean, the Bills did get crushed by them in week 4. So like, and they did put up 400 yards. Do I think here's the best team or it's like
Best
the
team.
Ravens? The Ravens have shot themselves in the foot in all 6 of their losses. So that's not a good team. Like Kansas City, like as much as I think they're the luckiest team ever, they don't shoot themselves in the foot. And that's,
so Mike, you and I
don't agree with that.
literally talked last night, and we both agreed Buffalo was the better team. Now today, you think the Bills
No.
are the better team.
No, I think that if they don't make mistakes, okay, like and that's part of the game. If they play a
huge part of the
clean, if
game.
they each played a clean
the
game,
game.
if they each play a clean game, the Ravens win 80% of the time. Is that fair?
But that game's
the best-
never
the
going to be
best
clean.
team-
That game
But
is
it's never
never
going to be clean because it's
Here's
bad
the
weather.
thing,
Here's
It's
the thing.
10 degrees. It's never
Here's the
gonna be
thing:
clean.
the best teams get the job done and they don't turn the ball over and they come back in the fourth quarter. So no, the Bills were the best team.
Okay,
They're
Woodley,
the best
let me
team.
come
They're-
back to you for this then. Like, okay, so this I think this could get really fun. So most of the experts, I know what the opinion is from the world's experts on this because I've looked it up about what percent the best team in the NFL wins the Super Bowl. But it sounds like you don't agree. So what do you think? Like the best team wins the Super Bowl 70% of the time? Well, what is it?
Well,
Give
you know,
us
it's
the
fun.
number.
It's funny. You throw out 30, and I said no. I think it's higher. You throw out 70. No, I don't think it's 70. I think
Tell me
I
a
think it's
number.
interesting because if you look at, you kind of have to look at. Are you talking the past 30 years? Talking the past 15 years? Because the past 15 years, it's been all Mahomes and Brady. All right, and I would argue that even if they're not the number one seed, I would argue that if you have fucking Mahomes and Brady and Andy Reid and Belichick, you are the best team. All right, so I would say like when the Chiefs and the Patriots have won all those Super Bowls, they're the best team. Okay, like period. I think you
Let's
take those
move
ones out
on.
of the equation, then it's
No,
probably,
can
I
you give
would
us a
say-
number?
I would say it's probably closer to 50%. It's not 80,
Okay.
it's not 30, it's 50.
That's fair.
I think the Chiefs are the best. I think the Chiefs are the best team last year. I think they're the best team this year. I've
So
said
I
this
can
all
tell you
year.
that I've
I said this all last year.
when you talk
I
about
don't
the
think
Patriots.
I don't think they're the best team the last 2 years or this year. So I'll go with that.
When you talk about the Patriots, okay, I talked to NFL team owners and managers, right? Only 2 or 3, but I did. And most years they said the Patriots were like the 10th best team, but they had a guy named Tom Brady. So and then some years the Patriots were the best team. And a couple of the Super Bowls, they were the best team. Couple of years they were the best team and lost the Super Bowl. Couple of times they weren't the best team. Like, it's so funny. We discussed this, but the Patriots oftentimes. So that's why I'm going to segue to this. I think Washington is going to beat Philadelphia outright. That's my pick of the week. I'll take the whatever 6 points. I'll also take them outright.
6.5
You know why?
now, buddy. You can get more now. 6.5.
6.5. So I think Washington is going to go in there, and I think that they are not going to be able to stop Daniels. I think he's going to put up 35 points on this vaunted Philly defense. And I think and so I'm predicting a big upset this weekend. And so, because I believe that the great quarterbacks get it done, and I believe they can make up for a team not being the best team. Woodley, I'm going to let you
Okay.
respond to that.
Hold on. Would you
And
guys
then
like
Mike.
a weather report? Would you like a weather report before
Yes,
we go?
Cantu. Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
Cantu.
Sunday, we're looking like coming into Sunday night, high of 39, low of 24. So I'm going to say about that time, it's going to be about 27, 28 come nighttime.
Okay, Woodley, go. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I mean, I think if there's going to be an upset this weekend, it's There's really only one upset that can happen, right? Like that Bills like Chiefs is like a 50-50 or close to it.
Yeah.
So I love Washington with the points. I don't know if I'm going to bet them on the money line. I agree with your thinking there, where they have this special. I think Daniels is a top 5 quarterback easy in the NFL right now. Now, could
I
he
agree.
regress next year? Absolutely. But right now, he's
Sophomore
top
slump,
5.
maybe.
So I love it. I love it. I love it for I love it for every reason except for one. So I love them for the points, period, right? Because a lot of people are like,
what you
oh,
don't
they
love them
beat,
for is
they
their
beat,
their rush
they-
defense. That's what you
yeah,
don't
they're
love
like
them for.
see, a lot of people are out there like, oh, like everyone's looking at when they beat them and Hurts was hurt. Remember that? I'm like, I think they actually probably did just as well with Pickett than Hurts. We'll get to Hurts in a minute. The only thing that gives me pause is their run defense is really, really,
Really bad.
really bad. Detroit, I mean, dude, Gibbs absolutely gashed them. I mean, I picked Washington. I'm glad they won. I had the money line. I felt great. Detroit should have won that game. All right, period. Like, not to be Mike on this, but all they had to do is continue to run to Gibbs and they win that game. So Sirianni, who I think is a terrible coach and an idiot and hard-headed and does not ever adjust, he may be stupid enough to like continue to do the shit with Hurts, where he's like, everybody's saying I'm doing the wrong way. I'm going to come out and fire with Hurts. But I'll tell you what, if they give Barkley 30 touches, I don't know how Washington can win. I think that game ends up being like
agree.
42-35. But I love, or sorry, 42-39. I love them plus the points. I lean for them on the money line. I just really worry about that rush defense, because that defense is awful on the rush. Like
Okay,
that.
so
And it's a shame. It's a shame because it's a shame.
I broke down the 2 times they played this year and what my opinion is on this game. So in game 1, with 6 minutes and 20 seconds to go, the score was 12-11 in favor of Philadelphia. They had a chance with 6:20 to go to kick a field goal and go up by 2. They decided to go for it. They got stopped. Very first play, Barkley runs for 65 yards for a touchdown. They get the ball back. Very first throw, Daniels throws a pick. The second run, he goes in for a touchdown. It's 26-11.
Daniels didn't throw a pick in the game.
Yeah, or they had a fumble. They had a turnover, whatever it was. It
maybe
was a
a fumble,
turnover at the end of the game. And so then they got a late touchdown to finish at 26-18. Okay, but Barkley gashed them most of the game. Like, they kept holding them to field goals. Now, let's go to game number 2. The number 1 defense in the NFL forced 5 turnovers on the Redskins. Two interceptions and 3 fumbles. Okay, that's 5 lost turnovers. Daniels also threw for 5 touchdown passes. Okay, now why did Philly not put this game away after 5 turnovers? Same thing as game number 1. I looked in the last 4 possessions: field goal, field goal, field goal, and field goal. What does that mean? If Hurts is not healthy and able to throw the ball downfield, and they just have to rely on Barkley, which they are going, no matter what anyone says, they will shred that Washington run defense. But when they get in the red zone, you're able to tighten up. You're able to key in on Barkley. So now you're going to have to pass the ball. And Sirianni said today, it came out today, that Hurts is a complete go. And as of right now, he looks great. Now that could be also a ploy. So my opinion on this game is, if Hurts is healthy, and I said it 2 days ago when the line came out at 4.5, I think Philadelphia is going to murder them. Okay, I think they're the best defense. I think they're the best team in the NFL. But if Hurts ain't healthy,
Mike,
and the coach sucks.
Mike,
Makes some sense.
Well, hold on one sec, Cantu.
What do you mean it makes
the
no
line
sense?
moving, hold on. Cantu is to say his piece, but I just want to ask you one question and we'll go to Cantu. The line moving from 4.5 to 6.5, in your opinion, means all the pros are betting Philly, Mike?
That's all pro. Dude, the line doesn't move 2 points on Monday. That's all sharp money, period.
Oh, go ahead, Cantu.
I really thought about this for a long time because my heart wants to see Washington win this.
Me too. I hate Philly. I hate Philly.
Yeah, I want them to win. I want them to win so bad. By the way, I did see that with the wind chill, it is supposed to be windy. It's supposed to be 30 and high of 30, 19 if you're taking wind chill into account. I'm going to take Washington. I'm going to take the points of 6.5. I don't think they win the game, But if they give the ball to Barkley 30 times, they're not losing this game. They will not lose. And to be honest, I don't think Sirianni gives it to him 30 times. And I think they even covered, but I don't think he's going to get the ball every time. I don't even think they should put it in the air. I don't think they need to. Very few passes.
They're going to need to in the red zone. I mean,
With
this is
that
what
said,
I just showed you.
Sirianni's
Why.
an idiot. He's an idiot.
He
Jaden
is. He's
Daniels,
terrible.
I would argue that Jaden Daniels has been the best quarterback so far in the playoffs. What a statement that is, by the way. But
There's no argument.
Agree.
That's a fact.
But I mean, so, Jaden looks like how he has in the first 2 games. Look, Washington might win this game.
Yeah, but he also played a banged up Tampa Bay back end, and he also played a Detroit missing their whole entire back end. Now he's playing the best defense in the NFL. So, and which caused 5 turnovers the last time they played.
They're not the best defense. They're not even the best defense.
They're not.
left in the
You want to
playoffs.
bet? How much you want to bet the ranked #1 defense in the NFL? How much? Whatever you want to bet, you could owe me. You could owe me. How's that?
No, I would take right now. I will take the Chiefs defense. I will take the Chiefs defense and special teams. If I had my choice of any of the teams in the playoffs.
The Chiefs are the 3rd best defense in the NFL. The rush defense was #1 until Mixon gashed them last week.
Well, there's always flaws to every stat.
Their pass defense has not been good all year, which is why Allen lit them up the first time they played.
We could get
Okay,
into
so my big call is Washington to win this outright, but of course my pick officially is going to be Washington plus 6.5. I'm going against the pros. The pros have gotten killed all year. Mike, every time he sees a line move 2 points, he goes all in. He's 28 games below 500 this year. It's the worst year I've ever heard of anybody ever having.
The pros, the only game they lost last weekend was the Raven game.
Oh, so now you're only 26 below 500.
No, I'm just saying the Sharps, the line moves, they lost.
Cantu and have had an undefeated weekend. They even took the plus 380.
We hit the over.
Parlay
We went
all my
5-0. We took Mike's over as well. I mean, we went 5-0.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about my my #1 pick last week.
Hold on, I
They
agreed
were
with Mike.
over at halftime.
Wait,
Over at
one
halftime.
second. I agreed with Mike. I was 5-0 on the pod last week. I forgot about Mike's total that he
I'll
put
tell
in
you one
there.
thing about that over, Mike. I bet it big, and I bet it big again. It was my biggest bet of the year was the over. And they scored, I believe, 52 points in the first half.
Yeah, it was.
The
it
over
didn't
was
go-
55.
Yeah, it was almost over in the first half.
And
Over.
And even though I went 2-0 on the pod with the Kansas City pick and with the total, I also what did I say? I wanted to make the Houston Kansas City under my second best pick, and that ended up going under too. So
Okay, Mike. So we've already talked about this. We don't need to cover it. Your pick of the week is Philly because you only have 2 games to pick. You're Philly, and I'm Washington for one of your picks.
but the thing is I was Philly at 4.5. Like you can't take 2 points the worse than a number. So if I bet this game, I'm going to bet the money line. I'm going to lay it. I don't think they have any chance of losing. That's what I'm going with. Philly money line.
So your pick is gonna be Philly money line. Then you're gonna lose. So if people are laying 2 or 3 to 1, that counts as 2 or 3 losses.
They're not 3
right?
to 1. They're like 260. I think it is right. 250.
260. So okay, it's easy to say lay 260.
I don't think
But-
Washington has a chance. That's
So
just
you
my
don't
opinion.
want to make it.
285.
You just said Philly's gonna kill
235.
them. Do you want to make a
235.
pick against the spread or not, Mike?
No, I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tease Philadelphia -0.5. I'm gonna
Okay,
tease
Mike,
Philadelphia
thanks. Thank you, Mike.
-0.5.
Thank you,
And then
Mike.
I'll be taking the Buffalo Bills plus the fucking 8.5.
We appreciate you. Okay, Woodley, why don't you tell us, Woodley? So you're kind of on record liking Philly in this game and
I
laying
love
the 6.5.
Philly.
Or no,
Yeah,
you're
I'll lay the
Washington.
6.5. Fuck it.
I
I'll lay
love
the
Washington.
6.
I love Washington. I just don't know. If
We'll
they're
have
gonna-
a $500 bet.
You
then.
and I
I'll,
love Washington. Okay, so let's move on to the second game
Okay.
here. Okay, who wants to go first on this?
I want to chime
No,
in
no,
on the second.
Cantu needs to
ahead.
go first. Mike, you can follow him. Cantu, I believe the line is 1.5 right now.
Nope, 2.5.
I think it's 2.
It's
Two
1.5
and a half.
or 2. It's not 2.5 anymore,
Okay.
Mike.
Well, we're very flexible. 1.5
Wow.
or 2. Go ahead,
2.5.
Cantu. Who
To
do you
be
like?
honest, I'm going to take the Chiefs either way, but I really do like
Okay.
Chiefs money line on the 1.5. Lay the extra 10 cents right there. I could see this really being a tight game. I don't think this is going to be an easy win. I think it's going to come right down to the end. I think the Chiefs magic gets it done. I think it's going to be Caitlin Clark out there cheering them on, with Taylor Swift. I think it's going to be the magic that we just don't quite understand how it goes. Or I'm going to cover this right now in the pod. The freak penalty where Mahomes doesn't really take a hit to the head that they call a hit to the head, like maybe give an extra point or two for the home cooking, the refs that the NFL wants, all those conspiracy theories. I'm gonna like tie that into why I believe that the mythical Chiefs get this done.
Can I just say this? Can we just say this? And then, Mike, you're going to comment on the game. It warmed my heart to see Caitlin Clark, who I'm a big fan of.
Me too.
Hugging Taylor's. I thought that was amazing. I love it. I know Woodley hates all this.
I did too.
But I loved it.
I thought it was so cute. And I thought, oh, they're just
Woodley
not gonna
only
lose.
hates Philadelphia more than he hates Taylor Swift and the Kelseys.
I mean, I love
Like,
Caitlin
I don't
Clark,
like.
so
I
they
don't
really
like
melted
Clark
me
either.
down.
I don't like her either. She's
No,
I
you
don't
can't
like
take
her.
You don't
America's
like Caitlin
sweetheart.
Clark, Woodley?
I have a good reason though. Like I'm an Iowa State fan. She's Iowa. Like those are bitter
Okay.
rivals. I'm tired of fucking hearing about her all the time.
Yeah,
Like
the women's basketball bitter rivals.
You think she's like the first ever woman that could like make a basket? It's ridiculous. Like the WNBA has so much fucking talent out there. And I'm not talking about Angel Reese, who's annoying either. But there's a million great players out there, and nobody talks about them. It's all about Caitlin Clark. Like, I don't give a shit. Her and Taylor Swift, man. Like whatever. Like I hope I'm taking the Chiefs, but I hope the Bills win for every reason in the world, other than I know they won't, because I love the story. I love Allen. I love those fans. There's not a fan base on earth that deserves happiness or a Super Bowl more than the Bills. Maybe even more than the Vikings, but the Bills. But they're gonna lose it. The Chiefs, and I picked the Chiefs like preseason. Actually, it's beneficial. I have some on the Bills, but the Chiefs are better for me. But I am rooting for the Bills. But the Chiefs are going to win it. All right. It's going to come down to two things. It's going to come down to home field, and it's going to come down to coaching. And McDermott, who
He is an
fucking
idiot.
guy, he cannot. They would have the number one seed if it wasn't for him. They probably would have won a couple of years ago if it wasn't for him. They should have.
He played a prevent defense with 13 seconds to go with three timeouts.
Last week they were idiots for letting them back in. Like, he's just a bad coach, man, and he's going to fuck it up. Like this is a game where there's zero margin for error. All right?
Zero.
Allen used to be a guy that made a lot of errors. Okay, Allen actually used to be what I called Lamar, which was someone that was struggling in the playoffs, couldn't win. Allen cleaned his entire game up now and plays extremely well. Their problem is McDermott. McDermott is going to do something stupid. He's going to lose his mind, and we didn't get to talk about this in the Houston game. Houston played the Chiefs very well, and they played. Reed played, coaching perfect. The Houston coach, I thought, did a pretty good job until he had his meltdown too, where it was like 4th and 10, and they were playing a great game. They're only down by 7. There was like 10 minutes left, and for some reason, 4th and 10, he decides to go for it, and the Chiefs sacked him, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah.
Reed and Mahomes will outplay them, and the Chiefs will win because of coaching. And just write this down now. McDermott will do something stupid that will cost them the game. We will sit here and be like, "Oh my God!"
Let me clean up one
McDermott
thing,
has
and then we'll
ruined
go to
it?
Mike. I'm just going to clean up one thing. When we say we think a coach is bad, okay, usually we're talking about bad decisions as far as game management. We're not talking about the way they communicate with their players. We're not talking about, generally speaking, that's what we're talking about. And so, Mike, go ahead. What do you think of this, Mike? I know you thought a lot about this one.
I'm gonna break down the these two schedules, and then I'm gonna give you my opinion. Okay, we're gonna go to Kansas City, who I think is the most fraudulent 15-win team in the history of the NFL. Okay, they beat the Ravens in week 1 because the fucking
Time out.
Whoa,
Are they more
you can
fraudulent than the Lions? The Lions just lost in the first round with
the
15
Lions
wins.
were missing their whole fucking team, 11 defensive players, okay? They gave up 44 points, okay? In week 1,
One and
against
done.
the Ravens played like shit, and if the fucking receiver would have worn a white fucking cleat, they would have tied or won the game, number 1. Then in week 2, against a fucking piece of shit Bengal team, they won 26-25 because they got a 4th and 19 pass interference penalty.
Yeah, I remember.
In week 3 versus the Falcons, they won 22-17. The Falcons had first down at the fucking Kansas City 13 fucking yard line. Okay, at Kansas City 18-yard line. They had 3rd down and 1, and they ran the 2 ridiculous plays. Bijan Robinson loses 3 yards. They lose that game. The Falcons should have won that game for sure.
Mike, you're too far off on a tangent, Mike.
No, this is very important.
No,
Okay,
but I
so
don't want you to read, Mike. I don't want you to read all 17 games. The point you're
this
making.
is very important. Okay. Then they won 3 big wins in a row, but at the time, we thought the Saints were good because they had won. They beat the Saints 26-13. The Saints had 4 wins. They beat San Francisco 28-18. The Niners had 6 wins. They beat the Raiders 27-20. The Raiders had 4 wins. Okay, now we go to the next game, the Buccaneers game. The dumbass coach ties the game with 8 seconds to go. Doesn't go for 2, which is ridiculous. Should have lost that game. Oh, then the next game, the Broncos. They miss a 30.
Enjoy this short break. Brought to you by our sponsor, EdgeBoost.bet.
So that's my opinion of Kansas City. Now I'm going to only comment on 2 games. Where'd you guys go?
I tried to tell Mike he's going to lose the audience by breaking down every game. He shouted how important it was, then talked about a bunch of meaningless stuff. You guys both left your chairs.
What was meaningless?
I left my chair.
The fact that the only 3 games that they played top teams, the Bills with top offenses, they gave up a million points.
I'll tell you what's meaningless, Mike. All right, and
you just read their whole season schedule.
I'm so glad.
Why would you do that?
Coming to an end
they fucking are the luckiest team in NFL history.
We had this conversation every fucking week, and what did I say? What did I say every fucking week when Kelsey was doing bad, when everything else was doing bad? I'm like, the Chiefs have played more games in the last 4 years than anyone in the history of football by far, by multiple games. I'm like, all they want to do is, number 1, they want to win the division. Number 2, maybe get a bye. They don't even care. Last year, they didn't even need to get a bye, and they went through. So I say they're going to stay healthy. They're going to go through the motions. It's the fucking
go through the
playoffs.
You really believe a team could go through emotions for 18 games, huh?
The regular season does not matter. Well, they won the games, Mike. The regular season does not matter in the playoffs. If it did, then Darnold would still be there. Then Goff would still be there. Then it doesn't matter. It's a different game. So like you talking about week 2 is fucking meaningless here. And it's incredible. Like it's a great bit because you go against the Chiefs every fucking time for the past 2 years. And they're probably going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Last year, I said the Chiefs could win it because their defense was the best defense in football. This year, the back end of the defense has been shredded. And last game, Mixon completely shredded them.
Guys,
completely.
Guys, I just want to say this. Okay, I think that Mike has lost 40 or I know that he lost $10,000 to me last year betting against the Chiefs. He had Philadelphia and whatever, his teams didn't even make the Super Bowl. So I had a $10,000 free roll and I hit it. Mike paid me $10K. Mike lost $40,000 or $50,000 betting against the Chiefs the last 3 years. He has a blind spot for hating the Chiefs.
No,
he has a blind spot. Now, I'm trying to get a bet down where...
2 years ago, if the fucking dumbass Cincinnati coach doesn't punt the ball to the Chiefs and just punts it out of bounds, guess what? The Chiefs are going. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. And last year, what they got lucky. What was the game they got lucky on last year? The fucking... that was last year that they punted the ball.
Danny, can you hit the mute button, please? Danny, we need you. Can you hit
the
mute button, please?
Oh, yeah. It was last year. Yeah.
Please. Mike, okay, Mike, come on, Mike. Mike,
he's hit my equilibrium. My brain is moved over a quarter inch this way.
What I don't mind about that, Cantu, is Mike shows how much he actually, for some reason, he claims he doesn't hate the Chiefs. He claims it, but he's lost us so much money. He underestimates the Chiefs every year. Having said that, Mike, tell us, Mike, you spent all this time.
This is great.
So you're saying Buffalo.
Look at Mike on his video. Look at
Mike's video. Yeah, don't change anything, Danny. Hold on.
Danny, don't change anything.
I'm going to take it over from here. This is why the Caitlin Clark effect, the Caitlin Clark effect is real. What Mike doesn't understand is the Taylor Swift being in that box. I don't know. It's some divine intervention. I can't explain how the Chiefs do it every year, but Mike will.
Danny, unmute Mike.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that.
We couldn't even made that up. We could not have scripted that any better.
Bit of the whole season. Mike screaming to unmute.
That made
somehow
my
day. The Chiefs seem to have magic. I think I like that word. They seem to have magic, and they just keep winning. It's kind of crazy to me. I don't know how they keep pulling it off.
They get those freak calls that nobody else takes into account, like where Mahomes, they say he got hit to the head, the big call that the whole world was upset about that he did get. There's always a freak call like that they get. You just got to factor it into the line,
Mike is right, though. Mike is right. The Chiefs are the luckiest team ever. I mean, with all those weird things that happened. So I give credit to Mike. He's right. They're the luckiest team ever. But I also think Woodley's right that they're just not playing that. Like, you win 2 Super Bowls in a row. You win 3 out of 4 years. You're really up for the regular season. I know the Warriors. I'm hosting a Warriors charity poker tournament. I'm hosting their tournament Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I know I talk to the guys, and they play in my poker with me, and they just don't really. They're not as motivated for the regular season, and I don't blame them. So, yeah, I don't know. I love the Chiefs in this game. Woodley loves the Chiefs in this game. Cantu loves the Chiefs in this game. And Mikey seems to love the Bills.
I just want to say one thing, okay? And then you guys could just answer this.
One thing, Mike?
2 years ago, if the Cincinnati coach punts the ball out of bounds, do the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Bengals? Yes or no?
No.
Exactly. Okay. Now, if the punt doesn't go off the foot in the Super Bowl, does San Francisco lose that Super Bowl?
No.
There you go. That's all I want to know.
That's insane. That's insane, Mike, because you can't sit there and say like the Chiefs are going to lose that. You bring up this fucking play every week, and it was like midway
Third quarter play.
It was midway
third quarter.
It was midway
Frisco
through.
having the ball. They got a free touchdown. Their only touchdown of the game, by the way.
It was midway through the third quarter.
Their only touchdown of the game.
Mahomes has like
They
how
got a
many
touchdown
fucking
overtime.
games? Mahomes has won how many games when he's down double digits in the fourth quarter? Like 3 Super Bowls he's fucking done it in. So for you to say that the game was over is the dumbest thing ever. Here's the thing with Mike is even if a team wins by 40, he'll still say it was the wrong side. So he'll, if he only would say this if this was the only time this year where he said, oh, the Chiefs weren't the better team, he sits there and says that Houston was a better team this last week. Can you honestly look into this camera? Can anyone say at any point in that game, did you think the Chiefs were going to lose that game versus Houston?
Well, how could they lose? The referees gave 2 roughing the passers that the guy didn't even touch them. That gave him 10 points. You can't beat the refs. So you know what? I go back. I'm not taking the Bills because they want that fucking Taylor fucking Swift and all the Swifties watching and all that bullshit. So the refs are just going to cheat for him because they cheated for him last week.
So
Mike,
it's a consensus.
I mean, I don't think it mattered that last week. I think the Chiefs are going to win anyway. But yeah, you make a good point. A lot of people are whining, but it wasn't like it was a last-second game. So, Mike, are you switching sides now?
Everybody on social media is in agreement that everybody's in agreement. Like they unified the whole country that the referees fucking robbed them. Fucking gave him 10 points. So
no,
disagree.
Mike. As usual, it's a very subtle thing, and I think you're missing a point.
Yeah.
Everybody said the Chiefs, the refs favored the Chiefs. Everybody said that. They unified the country.
Okay.
But that's not what you said. What you said is they gave them the game. They won the game because of that, which not everybody agrees on that.
No, listen, when you give away 13 points on special teams, you don't deserve to win, period. So,
yeah,
but
I mean,
other than
that,
they outgained them. Their defense was better. Their offense was better, but the special teams wasn't. And in the NFL, you need all 3 phases.
I want to talk about one other thing about the Chiefs that's really good. I've never seen like a team like block like a 30, 28, 35-yard field goal. These really short. It's always in the fourth quarter. It's always late. And they it looks like they don't even try on most field goals, and then they just bum rush them, and like the field goal never has a chance. It's only the Chiefs do that.
That's coaching. That's coaching. I mean,
it's incredible.
They're doing something different in the late fourth quarter when they come at the field goals. They're not showing teams like a look, and it is a jailbreak. And like I don't know what they're doing because I'm not a special teams like coach. I would love to hear like from a professional the difference.
It's unbelievable.
Something.
And Cantu, to your point, it's always at the last second to win the game. It's unbelievable. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if the Buffalo Bills are down 1 point and they have a 20-yard field goal with 4 seconds left? Who actually believes that they're going to hit that field goal? You know what I mean? Like
I'm sticking to the Bills, guys.
90-some%. None of us believes that field goal's going through the uprights, though.
That's why I'm going to take the minus 125 money line, and that's literally like the reason that I want the money line. I could see this falling Chiefs win by 1 or 2. It's just this like crazy thing. We're going to be talking about it come like Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. How did that happen again? And that's why
this is
2.2. You know,
this is the
Mike and Woodley, I want to tee you guys up for something here right now. So, Mike, you let me switch subjects. You keep your money at Lexicon Bank.
Yes.
Negreanu keeps his money at Lexicon Bank. A lot of poker players keep their money at Lexicon Bank. What would you say about that? And then Woodley has something to say after that.
Yeah, they got a good poker player program for professional poker players because CEO is Russell Rosenblum. He's a professional poker. Well, he used to be a professional poker player, and you're able to move money in and out without having to fill out forms. You know, like at Bank America, I used to everything over 10,000, I'd have to fill out a fucking form, and they want to know where's it going, where's it going, and it was just like so. I never kept money in the bank, but having it this way, I do.
With the with online sports betting and all this stuff like exploding over the last few years, it has kind of shown a light into payment issues, and Cantu talked about it, and Mike talked about it a bit as well. And like that's kind of where Edge, who obviously sponsor here, comes in as well. Though I mean, again, it makes life easier for people to place the bets, right? Like you want to place the bet, you want to hopefully win, but you just want to get it down. There's nothing more frustrating than that inability to get it down, right? There's nothing more frustrating to Mike than going to a bank and having to fill out a form every time he moves $10,000 in, which is like a half a buy-in for him. And most days, I mean, I think it's great. I think you have Lexicon, you have like Edge Boost. It's great for players. And I mean, these are things people need to check out. It's not a knock on the legacy banks, but the reality is, it's like the legacy banks don't care. Like, I mean, they don't care. They don't want this business. They have everything else in the world. Like they don't need to go become experts in in this world. And it's also another thing I'll mention there too. It is important you have Edge Boost and Lexicon because they are experts in this world, because for all the good actors out there, there's like bad actors out there as well. So like that's kind of the beauty there too. It's like you can't be laundering money through either one and things like that. But anyways, check out Edge Boost .bet. We'll put a link up and check it out.
So
Okay,
the Super
guys,
Bowl-
listen, this was a great podcast. Mike, I think we've had enough today.
Well, what's
a
your
little
Super
shorter
Bowl
than
picks?
usual.
What's your guys' Super Bowl prediction? Kansas City
We just
and
told you.
Philly?
Just take the two winners. We just told you.
I'm gonna say it right now, and I really like. I'm pulling for the Bills, and I don't think the Chiefs are very good. And I do think I've said it since week 7 that the Eagles are the best team in football. If Hurts is healthy, the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Mike. You at the beginning of this podcast, you were talking about how the Eagles aren't the best team. It's amazing.
I said if Hurts is healthy, they are the best team.